कर्मण्यकर्म यः पश्येत् अकर्मणि च कर्म यः स बुद्धिमान् मनुष्येषु स युक्तः कृत्स्न कर्म कृत. Yes. So what is being said? Karmani akarma yah pashyet. Yah pashyet, one who sees. What? Karmani, in action. Akarma, inaction. The one who sees inaction in action. And then akarmani cha karmayah. Akarmani, in inaction, karma, action. The one who sees action in inaction. One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction. Sa buddhiman manusheshu. Such a person is buddhiman, the wisest among men. Sayuktaha, he is a real yogi, the most integrated one. Sakritsna karma karta, he is the one who has performed every action. Bhagwan praises him. He is the one who is the most, he is the wisest among men. He is the most integrated among men. He is the one who has known everything. Who? One who sees inaction in action and action in inaction. Now this inaction, a lot of confusion is there. So I am going to use only the term akarma and karma. Because inaction and inaction both are two different things. So therefore I am going to use the term karma as action and akarma as inaction to avoid confusion. Now let us keep this verse aside. Now we will first see the fundamentals of Vedanta. So what is identification theory? When entity A identifies with entity B, the properties of B appear to be the properties of A. To make this clear, what was the example given? Film theater example. So what happens in film theater? I start watching the film, and as I get involved in the film happenings start affecting me. Yes or no? So when I got engrossed in the film, if the mood of the film is sorrowful, I also become. If the mood is a comic mood, my mood also changes. When the hero is crying, I am crying. When the hero is laughing, I am laughing. Isn't it? So what are the two entities here? Entity A, the one who is watching the film. Entity B, the film character. So in the film what happens? I get identified with the film character. And once I get totally identified, then the moods of the character become my moods. If the hero is crying, I am crying. If the hero is laughing, I am laughing. So the ups and downs of the filmy mood decides my mood. Correct? So what is happening? Entity A, the person who is watching the movie, identifies with entity B, the film character. Now because of this identification, what happens? The properties of B appear to be the properties of A. What is the property of B? The hero is crying. So that property becomes the property of the one who is watching the movie. He also cries. When entity A identifies with entity B, the properties of B appear to be the properties of A. Now let us keep this example aside. Now let us come to Vedanta. In Vedanta also we define two entities. What are the two entities? Consciousness and matter. These are the two entities. Entity A, consciousness. Entity B, matter. Now what is matter? Anything that is made of 5 elements is matter. What are the 5 elements? Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Jala, Prithvi. Space, air, fire, water, earth. Anything that is made of the combination of these 5 elements, it is called as matter. So whatever we see in this world, it is matter. What about the body? Body is also matter because body is nourished by food. Food is matter. So therefore, body is also matter. What about the mind? Mind is also matter because even the mind is nourished by food. If you don't eat for few days, your mind will not function. So therefore, the mind is also nothing but matter. Now there is only one thing which is not matter, that is consciousness. Remember, when we use the term consciousness, it is not the same meaning in the way the medical people use consciousness. Medical people also use the term consciousness. He came back to consciousness. He lost his consciousness. Remember, that is not the meaning here. Here it's a technical term. In the medical term, whenever they use consciousness, it is a state of the mind. So when a person, when they say he lost consciousness, what it means is the mind is switched off. He regained consciousness, means the mind has regained the waking state. This is their meaning. But in our, it is not. So these are the two entities. One is consciousness, the other is matter. Matter is made of 5 elements. Our body, mind, intellect, world, everything is matter. There is only one thing which is consciousness, and that is my own true nature. Now what are the properties of consciousness? Number 1, Sat. Sat means existence. Number 2, Chit. Chit means consciousness. Number 3, Anand. Anand means bliss. Now these are all the properties of consciousness. These are all the ways in which consciousness is described. Sat, Chit, Anandaha. 4th one, Anantaha, infinite. 5th one, Achalaha, that which doesn't move. That cannot move because it is infinite. 6th one, Nityaha, which is eternal. 7th one, Kutastaha, that which remains like a kuta, anvil. That which is the very substratum upon which all changes take place. Body changes, mind changes, intellect changes. But what is the changeless substratum upon which, remaining which, everything else changed? That is consciousness. So Kutastaha. 8th one, Agocharaha, that which cannot be known through our sense organs. You cannot see, you cannot hear, you cannot smell, taste or touch. Agocharaha or Atindriyaha. 8th. 9th one, Achintyaha, consciousness cannot be thought of. Mind cannot grasp it. You cannot think of consciousness, you can only be conscious of thoughts. Consciousness can grasp the thought, but thoughts cannot grasp the consciousness. Achintyaha. Next one, Aprameyaha, which cannot become an object of knowledge. Why it cannot become the object of knowledge? Because it is the subject. It is the I. Aprameyaha. How many terms? 10. 11th one, Anirdeshyaha, that which cannot be described. It cannot be described because it doesn't have any properties. Only a thing with property can be described. It is red in color, it is sweet in taste, they are all properties. When something has no property, how will you describe? So Anirdeshyaha. Next one, Atma. What is this consciousness? It is the very self in me. It is me. Atma, the real me, the core entity in me, the essential me, the true me. It is Atma. The next one, Sakshi, it is the ultimate witness. 14th one, Akarta, non-doer. 15th, Abhokta, non-enjoyer. So these are the famous terms through which this consciousness is described. An attempt is made to describe this consciousness. So these terms you will find in Upanishads, in Gita, repeated very many places. The important ones have been listed down, almost 15 of them. Right? So what is the nature of this consciousness? It is Sat. It is existence absolute. Sat also means truth. So it is the absolute truth. So it is something that which can never become non-existent. It can never die. It is Chit. It is the knowing principle in you. You are conscious of everything because of consciousness. You are aware of everything because of consciousness. This consciousness in you is the ultimate truth. This consciousness in you is none other than God. And what is its nature? Anand. It is infinite bliss. It is Anantaha. It is infinite. So if you see the properties of this consciousness, you will find it is the description of perfection. You cannot expect anything more than this. Right? So this is the description of true me. Now what is the mistake I have done in my life? Instead of identifying myself with the true me, I have identified myself with what I am not. And what is that which I am not? The body, the mind, the intellect. So what happens when you identify with your body? So what does the theory say? When entity A identifies with B, what will entity A experience? Not the properties of A, but the properties of B. What you identify, that you will experience. Now you are infinite consciousness. Now since you are not identifying with consciousness, you will not experience the properties of consciousness. You will experience the properties of the body upon which you are identified with. Now what is this body? What is the nature of the body? Asti, jayate, vardhate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyate. The body first exists in the mother's womb. Then it is born. Then it grows. Then it matures. Then it decays and dies. So every body has got a date of birth. Every body will have a date of death. Now when I identify with this limited body, what will be my experience? My experience will be limitation. When I identify with an imperfect body, what will be my experience? My experience will be imperfection. It is not that I have become imperfect, but it is only that because of identification, I feel as though I am imperfect. Every body is imperfect, every mind is imperfect, every intellect is imperfect. Every BMI is imperfect, every BMI is limited. So when I identify myself with an imperfect, limited entity, my experience is that of imperfection, my experience is that of limitation. This is called samsara tapatraya. Right? You are infinite, but you don't know that you are infinite. Because of identification, you think you are finite. You think you are useless. You think you are good for nothing. What does scripture say? Oh fool, you are God himself. You are infinite. You don't know who you are. You are none other than the creator of this universe. This is what the scriptures say. Uttishtata jagrata, arise, awake, fool. You understand? Oh amritasya putra, oh children of immortality, arise, awake. So now, why is it that today I am experiencing imperfection? I am experiencing imperfection because I am not identifying with what I am identifying with what I am not. So if I want to come out of this imperfection, come out of this limitation, what should I do? I should disidentify myself with what I am not, and I should identify myself with what I am. Got it? Problem was created because of identification. Solution is in terms of disidentification. Take the movie theater example. Why am I crying in the movie theater? I am not crying for my problems, I am crying for the hero's problem. Isn't it? So if I have to stop crying in the film theater, what should I do? In the film theater, I am not crying for my problems. I have different problems of my own at home. In the theater, I am not crying for that problem. I am crying for an unreal problem of an unreal character. Correct? So if I have to stop crying, what should I do? Stop identifying. That's all. Shift your attention from the film. Shift your attention to the reality of the world. Your crying will be over. Isn't it? In the same way, in the real world, I am crying. Why? Because I have identified with the body, mind, intellect, which I am not. So if you have to stop crying, what should I do? Shift your attention from what you are not to what you are. Clear? Yes. Now let us come to this concept. Now here in this verse, the property of consciousness as akarta abhokta is highlighted. So what is the what is the essence of all this discussion? We are none other than consciousness. We are not matter. This is the discussion. Now, what is the role of consciousness? Consciousness gives sentiency to the inert body, mind, intellect. Body, mind, intellect is inert. Inert means what? It is jada. Jada means what? It cannot know itself. It cannot know anything else. That is the meaning jada. What is the meaning chetana or chaitanya? It knows itself and it knows everything else. Then that is called as chetana or sentiency. So what does consciousness do? It gives sentiency to the body, mind, intellect. So the body which is inert, which has no life, now because of the touch of consciousness, the body appears alive. Body by itself has no life. From where did the body borrow life from? It has borrowed from consciousness. From where did sentiency come in consciousness? Sentiency is the nature of consciousness because it is chit. Chit means sentiency. The knowing ability. So consciousness lends sentiency to the body. The very same consciousness lends sentiency to the mind. So mind also appears alive. Body also appears alive. Remember, the life principle is not their own inherent property. It has been borrowed from consciousness. Without consciousness, body has no life. Mind has no life. Now the moment body and mind, they derive sentiency from consciousness, they start performing action. Body starts performing action, mind starts performing the action of feeling, intellect starts performing its action of thinking, comparing. Sentiency is borrowed from consciousness and then according to their nature, they act. To give an example, it's like fire. So if you keep a piece of iron in fire, what will happen to it? It becomes red hot, correct? If you keep a vessel with water, and in that water you put a carrot, you put say an egg, vegetables you put rice, what happens? What happens to the water? It starts boiling. Why does it boil? That is the nature of water. The heat is the same, but different objects react to the heat differently according to their nature. A piece of iron becomes red hot because that is its nature. Vegetable becomes very soft because that is its nature. Water boils because that is its nature. Egg becomes hard because that is its nature. Fire is the same. Heat is the same, but different things make use of the heat according to their nature. Again, another example, electricity. Electricity is the same, but different equipments make use of the electricity in different ways according to their nature. Fan rotates, bulb gives light, heater heats, cooler cools. Isn't it? Electricity is the same. Now the point to be kept here is, when fire is heating the vegetables, is fire doing anything? Is there an action involved? A deliberate action involved? No. A deliberate action is called a verb. I am walking. Now there's a deliberate action. Is such a deliberate action involved when the fire is cooking the vegetables? There is no deliberate action. Fire is just there. Though we say fire is cooking the food, actually cooking action is not happening. In the presence of fire, cooking is happening. That's all. There is no verb, there is no action, there is no doing there. Are you able to get my point? Fire is just there. Though we say fire is heating, it is not a verb. Heat is its nature. There is no action involved. In the presence of fire, the water boils. In the presence of fire, the iron gets heated up. Fire is not doing anything, it is just there. It is in a state of its being. There is actionlessness there. Are you able to follow? When I say bird is flying, there is an action there. There is a deliberate action. Bird can fly, bird need not fly. But as far as that is concerned, in fire, that condition doesn't hold good. You cannot say, fire may give heat, fire may not give heat. No. Fire gives heat, it is its inherent nature. So therefore, there is no action involved. Though we may say fire is cooking food, there is no action involved. Are you able to follow? Though we may say electricity is energizing all of them, there is no action involved. Electricity is just there. In its presence, things are happening. Though I may say mirror is reflecting things, this reflecting is not an action. It is its nature. There is no action involved. There is akarma there. In the same way, when consciousness enlivens BMI, there is no action involved. Giving sentiency is the nature of consciousness, there is no action involved. Just like giving heat is the nature of fire, giving sentiency is the nature of consciousness. But once the sentiency is received from consciousness, what does the BMI do? Body performs action. Ears are able to hear. Eyes are doing action of seeing. Nose is doing the action of smelling. Isn't it? Tongue is doing the action of tasting. Heart is doing the action of heart beating. Kidney, liver, everything is functioning, borrowing the sentiency from consciousness. They all perform action. Body is performing action. Mind, intellect, everything is performing action. But what about consciousness? It is not doing anything. In the presence of actionless consciousness, actions of BMI is taking place. Now, next step. Remember this consciousness. Who is this consciousness? Me. Don't see some consciousness somewhere. Now, the consciousness, what am I doing? I am lending sentiency to BMI, and therefore the body, mind, intellect is functioning. I am not doing anything. But the moment I identify with the BMI, what happens? The moment I identify with the body, bodily actions as though become my actions. The actionless consciousness, when I identify with acting body, I no longer remain actionless, I become actionful body. That is the property of identification. Wherever you identify, that property you will experience. If I identify with consciousness, what will be my experience? My experience will be immortality. My experience will be deathlessness. My experience will be infinite bliss. But suppose I identify with body, then bodily actions will be my actions. Bodily limitations will be my limitation. The question is, where are you identified with? The moment the actionless consciousness, identify with body which is full of actions, the bodily actions as though become my action. Now, what is the condition? Though I am actionless, I become as though actionful. Now what will I say? I am performing action. I am thinking. I am feeling. These are the statements of ignorance. Ignorance about the self. I don't know myself, therefore I say, I have done it, I thought, I did, this is my idea, I felt sad, I am angry. All these feelings, emotions, thoughts, everything belongs to BMI, which is not you. But the moment you identify with that, their property becomes your property. To give a very good example, I hope you have seen cricket match. Let us assume India is playing against Pakistan. What are you doing? You are sitting there as a couch potato in the sofa, doing nothing. You are watching the match. Nail-biting finish. You are tensed up. Remember, you are akarta. You are not doing anything. You are just sitting there. But the moment you identify with, because you are an Indian, naturally you will identify with the Indian team. Now the Indian batsman is batting. When he hits a 6, now since you are identified with that batsman, his action becomes as though your action. Now you also jump from your sofa. Correct? Actually speaking, that person has nothing to do with you. He is some stranger, born somewhere, in nowhere related to you. But this thinking that I am an Indian, he is an Indian, so therefore we are one. What has happened? Identification has happened. Now the moment identification has happened, his action becomes your action. His success is your success, his failure is your failure. Isn't it? He hits a 6, you feel as though you have hit a 6. He is clean bowled, now you feel as though you are clean bowled. Yes or no? Now see how the akarta becomes karta. That's the point. The moment you identify with someone, that someone's action become your action. That someone's reactions become your reactions. What is the truth? The truth is you have nothing to do with that person. Suppose you sit watching the same match, totally disidentified. What will happen? Nothing will happen. Whether he is bowled or he hits 6 or whatever be the consequence of the match, whatever be the outcome of the match, nothing is going to happen to you. Why? Because you are not identified. Suppose it's a match between New Zealand and Zimbabwe. You will sit there like a sthita prajna, mahatjnani. Nothing will affect you, isn't it? The ups and downs in the game is not affecting you. Why? Because there is nowhere where you can identify. Neither can you identify with New Zealand people, nor can you identify with Zimbabwe people. This is life. Another example. A mother is watching the drama of her child. Some fancy dress, something the child is doing. Now the child has forgotten the dialogue. Now who is tensed? The mother here does all Bharatanatyam here. Why? The mother is so identified with the child that child's action is mother's action now. Child's failure is mother's failure. Isn't it? In fact, child has no problem because the child has no ego. Child turns around, smiles at everyone. That forgetfulness of dialogue is also okay for the child. But the mother is not like that. She is miserable. Isn't it? Because her status is at stake. Everybody is watching. Her pride is at stake. What I am trying to say is, when you identify with something, that property of something becomes your property. Now what is being discussed here? We are talking of action. Where does the actions take place? Actions take place at the body level, at the mind level, at the intellect level. Actions doesn't take place at consciousness level. Consciousness is akarta, actionless. If at all the actions are taking place, they are taking place at the body, mind, intellect level. But in my ignorance, what I have done? Instead of identifying with consciousness, I have identified with BMI. Now the actions of the BMI becomes as though my actions. Now what does Bhagavan say? He is Buddhiman. Who is Buddhiman? Now come to this verse. What is being said? Karmani akarma yaf pasye. The one who sees karmani, in action, in karma. One who sees akarma in karma. Where is karma happening? Body level. Where is akarma happening? Consciousness level. Now what is this person seeing? He is seeing akarma. Even when karma is happening at the BMI level, what is his experience? Akarma. Means what? He is identified with consciousness. Even though at the bodily level actions are happening, his experience is not action, his experience is actionlessness, because his identification is with actionless consciousness. Now see the next term. Akarmani karmayaha. Yaha akarmani, in akarma, one who sees karma. One who sees karma in akarma. Now here akarma stands for the bodily akarma. Now there is a person who is sitting. I will not move my body. I will not speak. Now some people are there who practice mauna in the name of spirituality. You should see their misery that day. They are very talkative person. So someday they decide this kind of tapas I must do. I talk too much. At least this day I have to practice mauna. Now what is mauna? Body becomes extremely active. There is so much to convey and now he cannot talk. So what will you do? Again hands and legs start talking. So now here is a person who says, I will practice akarma. So at the bodily level, no movement. At the speech level, no talking. At the mind level, no thinking. Now, what is his condition? Though he is externally appearing to practice akarma, what is actually happening? He is practicing karma only. He is striving hard not to act. Now, isn't it action? He is striving hard not to speak. Now, isn't it an action? He is putting forth effort not to put forth action. Now that effort also has to be considered as action. Yaha, what does he see? He sees karma in akarma. Externally there is akarma, but what is happening? Karma is happening. The sum and substance of the discussion is only this much. If you are identified with consciousness, there is akarma. Even when the body is performing action, if you are identified with body, there is karma. Even when the body is not performing action. These are the only two possibilities. Either you can identify with consciousness or you can identify with the body-mind complex. If your identification is at the body-mind complex, there is karma even though physically you may not do karma. If your identification is with consciousness, there is akarma even though externally there will be a lot of karma. Yes, the one who has understood thus, sa buddhiman manushyeshu, he is the wisest. He has known what is action and what is inaction. At the physical level, nobody can remain inactive. Nobody. At the consciousness level, nobody can perform action because consciousness is akarta. So what is the wisest way of performing action? Remain identified with consciousness. Then even when the physical, mental, intellectual personalities in you are functioning outside, performing action, those actions are not called actions, they will not be actions, and therefore karma will not lead to karma phala. This is the point. The moment you identify with your BMI, karta is born, ego is born, karma is born, karma phala is born, and karma phala lead to punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. This is the cycle. What is the evil consequence of action? Every action will produce results. If you say actions are mine, then the results also should be yours. When you identify with body, you are saying actions are mine. So Bhagavan says, fine, if actions are yours, may the results of the actions also may be yours. What does it mean? Come back again in order to enjoy or suffer the results of the action. Meaning, remain bound to the world. Choice is yours. You may say, oh God, actions are not mine, actions are yours, I am only an instrument. You are the doer, I am only an instrument. If this is the attitude, you are safe. You are able to understand? Identifying with consciousness, meaning holding on to God. Saying, Bhagavan, I do nothing, you do everything. Bhagavan, this is an instrument given by you. Through your instrument, you are performing your leelas. So actions belong to you. So since actions belong to you, results of those actions also should belong to you. So then what happens? You escape from the evil consequences of action. What is the evil consequence of action? Karma, karma phala, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. This is the evil consequence. Of course, karma leads to vasanas also, all those things. It's called anartha parampara. It's not one, anartha, most inauspicious. But what happens when you identify with consciousness? The properties of consciousness becomes your experience. What are the properties of consciousness? Sat, Chit, Anand, Anand, Nitya. Wow, great. So this is the art of performing action.